When my grandson Tyler told me, "You're too old for this," at my 75th birthday party, I quietly excused myself and called my financial advisor. By the next morning, I had terminated his $25,000 monthly trust fund that he didn't even know I controlled. And that was just the beginning. Justice had to happen. You won't believe what I did next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening in the comments. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I'm 75 years old. I've been successful in the construction business for over 50 years now. Started with one small crew back in 1972 and built it into Mitchell Construction Company, one of the largest builders in our state. Today, my net worth sits at about $43 million. My wife Dorothy died from a heart attack 3 years ago after 48 years of marriage. She was the love of my life and my business partner in everything we built together. We had 2 children. Our daughter Sarah died in a car accident when she was only 32 years old, leaving behind her son Tyler, who is now 28 years old. Tyler is my only grandchild, and after Sarah died, he became the most important person in my life. I raised him from age 15 when he lost his mother. Dorothy and I gave him everything he needed to succeed in life: private school, college tuition, and all the opportunities that money could provide for a young man's future. But something started going wrong with Tyler about 3 years ago when Dorothy died and he inherited some money from her estate. He got $200,000 when his grandmother passed away. That money seemed to change his attitude toward work, responsibility, and family relationships in ways that worried me. Tyler had always been a good kid growing up. He worked hard in school, showed respect to his elders, and seemed to understand the value of the opportunities we were giving him. "Grandpa, thank you for everything you and Grandma do for me," he used to say regularly. I thought I was raising a young man who would honor our family values. After Dorothy died, Tyler started making comments about my age and my abilities that bothered me during family visits. "Grandpa, maybe you should retire and enjoy your golden years," he would say. "You don't need to work so hard at your age." These suggestions felt disrespectful to someone who had built a successful business and was still perfectly capable of running it. Tyler also began acting like he knew better than me about business decisions and life choices. "Grandpa, you should modernize your construction company with new technology," he would tell me. "Older methods are holding you back from bigger profits." His advice ignored my 50 years of experience and success in an industry he knew nothing about. But the real problems started when Tyler graduated from college last year, and I expected him to get a job like any other young adult. Instead, he seemed to think he was entitled to live comfortably without working because his grandmother had left him money. "Grandpa, I'm still figuring out my career path," he would say when I asked about his job search. What Tyler didn't know was that I had been secretly supporting his comfortable lifestyle for years through a trust fund I established when he turned 18. $25,000 transferred to his checking account every month since his 18th birthday. That's $300,000 per year that allowed him to live like a wealthy young man without earning any income. I set up this trust fund because I wanted Tyler to focus on his education and personal development without worrying about money. "Dorothy, this will give Tyler security while he finds his direction in life," I had explained to my wife. We agreed that financial pressure shouldn't force him into poor decisions about his future career. But I designed the trust fund with conditions that Tyler never knew about. The monthly payments would continue only as long as he showed respect for family relationships and made reasonable efforts toward building his own career. I had the legal right to terminate the fund immediately if his behavior became inappropriate or entitled. Tyler had no idea that his comfortable apartment, expensive car, and leisure lifestyle were funded by his grandfather's generosity. He thought his inheritance from Dorothy and occasional part-time jobs were supporting his standard of living. The boy was spending more money each month than most people make in a year, all because I wanted to help him succeed. Last month, I started hinting that Tyler needed to find steady employment and start taking responsibility for his adult life. "Tyler, you're 28 years old now," I told him. "It's time to build a career and contribute something meaningful to society." His reaction to these expectations revealed his true character and attitude toward family obligations. "Grandpa, you don't understand how different the job market is today," Tyler replied dismissively. "Young people need time to explore their options before settling into careers." His entitlement was incredible considering he was living off money I provided while lecturing me about modern life. 2 weeks ago, I decided to test Tyler's real feelings about me by planning a 75th birthday party. I invited all our family and friends to celebrate this milestone with the grandfather who had raised him after his mother died. Tyler seemed excited about the party and promised to help make it special for me. But at my own birthday celebration, Tyler said something that changed everything between us forever. Now let me tell you exactly how I built my fortune, while Tyler learned to take everything for granted. This story starts 53 years ago when I was just 22 years old, with nothing but a pickup truck and a dream about building houses. Most people thought construction was too risky and competitive for a young man with no connections. But I could see that our growing city would need someone willing to work harder than everyone else. I started Mitchell Construction Company with a $3,000 loan from the bank and pure determination to succeed. Dorothy supported me completely, even though we were living paycheck to paycheck in those early years. "Robert, if you believe in this business, then I believe in you," she told me. We lived in a tiny rental house and saved every penny to buy better tools and equipment. The breakthrough came when I won a contract to build 5 houses in a new subdivision in 1975. The project was bigger than anything I had attempted before, but I knew it could establish my reputation in the local market. Dorothy kept the books while I managed every aspect of construction, from foundation to final inspection. Those 5 houses launched my career in residential construction and led to bigger projects over the following years. Within a decade, Mitchell Construction was building custom homes for the wealthiest families in our region. I reinvested every dollar of profit back into the company to buy land, equipment, and hire the best workers available. By the time Sarah was born in 1978, we were making real money and building a solid foundation for our family's future. But Dorothy and I never forgot our humble beginnings or the sacrifices required to build something from nothing. "Robert, let's make sure Sarah understands the value of hard work," Dorothy would say. "Money should be earned, not just inherited." Sarah grew up watching her parents work 70-hour weeks to build our family business. She had chores around the house, earned her allowance through good behavior, and worked summer jobs during high school. "Sarah, success requires effort and responsibility," I taught her. "Everything we have today came from making good decisions and treating people fairly." Sarah seemed to appreciate these lessons about character and work ethic. When Sarah went to college, I paid for her education completely so she could focus on her studies without financial stress. State University for 4 years, $47,000 in total costs. Sarah graduated with honors in education and became a teacher at the local elementary school. Dorothy and I were proud of the responsible young woman she had become. After Sarah got married and started her family, I continued helping her financially when she needed assistance. Down payment for her first house, $25,000. car purchase when her old vehicle broke down, $15,000. Various emergency expenses over the years, probably another $30,000. I was happy to help my daughter build a stable life for her family, but Sarah always showed genuine gratitude for my help and never acted entitled to my money. "Dad, thank you so much for helping us get established," she would say sincerely. "I know how hard you work to build the business that makes this possible." Sarah understood that my generosity came from love, not obligation. When Tyler was born, I was excited about being a grandfather and helping raise the next generation of our family. "Dorothy, this little boy represents our legacy and everything we've built together," I told my wife. We both looked forward to watching Tyler grow up with opportunities we never had as children. But tragedy struck when Sarah died in that car accident, when Tyler was only 15 years old. Losing our daughter was the most painful experience of my life, and suddenly Tyler became an orphaned teenager who needed stable family support. "Robert, we have to be Tyler's parents now," Dorothy said through her grief. "Sarah would want us to raise him with love and proper values." Taking custody of Tyler meant major changes in our retirement plans, but Dorothy and I were committed to giving him everything he needed to succeed. Private school tuition, $18,000 per year. College expenses, $96,000 total. Summer camps, tutoring, sports equipment, and all the activities that would help Tyler develop into a successful adult. Tyler seemed genuinely appreciative during his teenage years and early college period. "Grandpa and Grandma, thank you for taking care of me after Mom died," he would say regularly. "I know this wasn't easy for you, but you saved my life." Those words made all our sacrifices feel worthwhile and meaningful. But something started changing in Tyler's attitude after he turned 21 and began feeling more independent. The grateful teenager slowly became a young adult who expected financial support without showing much appreciation for the person providing it. "Grandpa, could you help me with my car payment this month?" Became a regular request without any acknowledgement of previous help. I started noticing that Tyler's thank you messages became shorter and less frequent over time. Instead of detailed appreciation for my assistance, he would send quick text messages like, "Thanks for the help," or just, "Got it." The personal connection and genuine gratitude were disappearing as he became more comfortable with regular financial support. What bothered me most was Tyler's growing assumption that my help would always be available whenever he needed it. He would make expensive plans for vacations or purchases, then ask me to fund them like it was my responsibility to support his lifestyle. "Grandpa, I found this great apartment, but I need help with the security deposit," became typical conversations. The monthly trust fund I established was supposed to be temporary support while Tyler found his direction in life. But instead of motivating him toward independence, the steady income seemed to create more entitlement and less ambition. Tyler was becoming comfortable living off my generosity without building his own career or financial responsibility. At my 75th birthday party, Tyler was about to show me exactly what he thought about the man who had raised him and funded his entire adult life. Let me take you back to that terrible Saturday evening when Tyler said the words that ended his financial support forever. It was October 14th, my 75th birthday party at the country club. I had planned a nice celebration with family and friends to mark this important milestone in my life. Tyler had promised to help make the evening special for his grandfather who had raised him. The party started beautifully with about 60 guests coming to celebrate with me. Family members, business associates, and friends I had known for decades all gathered to honor my birthday. I was feeling grateful for the relationships I had built over 75 years of life. Dorothy would have loved seeing everyone come together to celebrate. Tyler arrived at the party looking sharp in his expensive suit that I had probably paid for through his monthly allowance. "Happy birthday, Grandpa," he said, giving me a hug in front of all the guests. "Thanks for planning such a nice celebration for everyone." At that moment, he seemed like the grateful grandson I had raised after his mother died. The first hour of the party went perfectly as people shared stories about my business career and family life. "Robert built this city one house at a time," said my longtime friend Jim. "He's the hardest working man I've ever known." These tributes made me feel proud of what I had accomplished over 5 decades in construction. Tyler was mingling with guests and seemed to be enjoying the celebration. Several people commented on what a fine young man he had become and how proud I must be of my grandson. "You raised a good one, Robert," said my neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. "Tyler is lucky to have such a dedicated grandfather." These comments made me feel like maybe I had done something right after Sarah died. But things started going wrong when the DJ announced it was time for the birthday speeches. I had asked Tyler to say a few words about our family and what our relationship meant to him. "Ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Mitchell would like to share some thoughts about his grandfather," the DJ announced over the sound system. Tyler walked to the microphone looking confident and comfortable speaking in front of the crowd. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my grandfather's 75th birthday," he began. "Robert Mitchell has been an important influence in my life since my mother passed away." So far, his speech sounded respectful and appropriate for the occasion. "My grandfather taught me about hard work and perseverance through his construction business," Tyler continued. "He showed me that success requires dedication and treating people fairly." I was feeling proud as Tyler acknowledged the values I had tried to teach him over the years. "Robert Mitchell built something lasting that has benefited our entire family." But then Tyler's speech took a turn that shocked me and embarrassed me in front of all my guests. "However, I think it's time for Grandpa to step back and let the younger generation take over," he said with a smile. "At 75, he's earned the right to relax and enjoy his golden years, instead of trying to stay involved in business decisions." The room became uncomfortably quiet as people realized Tyler was suggesting I was too old to run my own company. "Grandpa needs to trust that he raised me well enough to handle family responsibilities," Tyler continued. "Sometimes older people don't realize when it's time to let go and allow fresh ideas to move things forward." I felt my face getting red with embarrassment and anger as Tyler publicly questioned my mental sharpness and business abilities. Every person in that room was hearing my grandson suggest that I was some kind of confused old man who needed to be managed by someone younger and smarter. "Grandpa, you're too old for this." Tyler concluded his speech with the words that ended our relationship. "It's time to pass the torch to people who understand how the modern world works." The applause from the guests was polite but uncomfortable as everyone processed what they had just heard. I sat there feeling humiliated and betrayed by the person I had raised, educated, and supported for 13 years after his mother died. The grandson who lived in luxury because of my secret monthly payments had just publicly declared that I was incompetent because of my age, in front of 60 people who respected me and my accomplishments. After Tyler returned to his seat, several guests came over to express their support and disagreement with his comments. "Robert, don't pay attention to that nonsense," whispered my attorney David. "You're sharper than men half your age, and everyone here knows it." But the damage was already done to my reputation and my relationship with Tyler. My business partner Frank was particularly upset by Tyler's disrespectful speech. "Robert, that boy has no idea what you've built or how hard you work every day," he said angrily. "Where does he get the nerve to suggest you're too old to run your own company?" Frank understood that Tyler's comments were completely inappropriate for someone who depended on my generosity. I excused myself from the party and went to the men's room to collect my thoughts and decide how to handle this public humiliation. Looking in the mirror, I saw a 75-year-old man who had just been disrespected by his own grandson in front of everyone who mattered to him. The boy I had raised and loved had basically called me senile. Standing there alone, I made the decision that would change Tyler's life forever. I pulled out my phone and called my financial advisor's emergency line. "Paul, this is Robert Mitchell," I said calmly. "I need you to terminate Tyler's trust fund immediately." Paul was surprised by this late-night request, but he confirmed he could stop the monthly payments by Monday morning. "Paul, effective immediately, no more money goes to Tyler Mitchell," I instructed clearly. "Cancel all automatic transfers and close his access to any family funds." $25,000 per month was about to disappear from Tyler's bank account because he thought his grandfather was too old to deserve respect. The grandson, who thought I was too old for business decisions, was about to learn exactly who controlled his comfortable lifestyle. After Tyler's humiliating speech calling me too old for business decisions, I left my birthday party early and went home to my study. I needed to look at the financial records that showed exactly how much money I had given the grandson who just publicly disrespected me. Sitting alone in the house Dorothy and I had shared for 40 years, I pulled out the trust fund documents that Tyler never knew existed. I opened the file cabinet and found the folder labeled Tyler Mitchell Trust Fund, Confidential, that I had maintained since his 18th birthday. Inside were 10 years of monthly payment records showing $25,000 transferred to his checking account every single month. The numbers told a painful story about generosity that was never appreciated or acknowledged properly. The trust fund statements showed a total of $3 million transferred to Tyler over the past 10 years. $3 million that allowed him to live like a wealthy young man without working a single day in his adult life. Money that paid for his luxury apartment, expensive car, designer clothes, and leisure lifestyle, while he told people his grandfather was too old to make business decisions. I found the original legal documents I had signed when establishing Tyler's trust fund in 2014. The purpose of this trust is to provide financial security for Tyler Mitchell while he completes his education and establishes his career. The paperwork stated, "Monthly distributions will continue as long as the beneficiary shows respect for family relationships and makes reasonable progress toward independence." Looking at those words now, I realized Tyler had violated both conditions of his trust fund for the past several years. He showed no respect for family relationships, as proven by tonight's public humiliation, and he had made zero progress toward independence, choosing instead to live off my money while avoiding adult responsibilities. The monthly bank transfer records were particularly painful to review after Tyler's birthday speech. $25,000 sent to his account on the 15th of every month for 120 consecutive months. Never a thank you note. Never an acknowledgement of where the money was coming from. Tyler thought his comfortable lifestyle was funded by magic instead of his grandfather's generosity. I calculated what Tyler's annual income would be without the trust fund. Payments. His part-time freelance work brought in maybe $8,000 per year. His inheritance from Dorothy was already spent on his expensive car and furniture. Without my monthly support, Tyler's actual earning capacity was about $15 per hour working occasional jobs. The contrast between Tyler's real income and his spending habits was staggering when I looked at his credit card statements that I received as trustee. Monthly expenses of $32,000 on average. Rent for his luxury apartment, $4,500 per month. car payment and insurance, $1,800 per month. Restaurants, entertainment, and shopping, thousands more every month. Tyler was spending more money each month than most families make in an entire year. All of it funded by a grandfather he considered too old and incompetent to run his own business. The irony was perfect. The person Tyler thought was senile was the only reason he could afford his entitled lifestyle. I also found records of additional financial help I had given Tyler beyond the monthly trust fund payments. Emergency car repairs, $12,000 over the years. Medical expenses not covered by insurance, $8,000. Vacation funding when he wanted to travel with friends, $15,000. Tyler never connected these payments to his grandfather's bank account. The total amount I had invested in Tyler's comfort and education since his mother died was staggering. Trust fund payments, $3 million. College expenses, $96,000. Private school tuition, $72,000. Additional emergency funding, probably another $50,000. Over $3.2 million spent on someone who thought I was too old to deserve respect. But the most painful part of reviewing these financial records was realizing that Tyler had never once asked about my own needs or well-being since Dorothy died 3 years ago. Every conversation was about what I could do for him, never about how I was coping with loneliness or adjusting to life without my wife. When Dorothy was alive, Tyler called us regularly just to talk and stay connected with his grandparents. After her funeral, those calls became less frequent and more focused on his financial problems that needed my immediate attention. "Grandpa, I miss Grandma too, but I have this rent payment due," became the typical conversation pattern. I pulled out my current financial statements to understand what stopping Tyler's trust fund would mean for my overall wealth. $43 million in total assets, including my construction company, real estate investments, and liquid funds. The $25,000 monthly payments to Tyler represented less than 1% of my total wealth, but they were funding an entitled lifestyle that I could no longer support. Looking at these numbers made Tyler's speech even more insulting than I had realized during the party. "You're too old for this," was his way of dismissing the man who had built a $43 million empire from nothing. The grandson who lived off my generosity thought he knew better than someone who had succeeded in business for over 50 years. My decision to terminate Tyler's trust fund wasn't about the money itself. It was about teaching respect and consequences to someone who had forgotten the value of family relationships. If Tyler thought I was too old to make business decisions, then he was about to discover exactly how sharp my financial judgment really was. Sitting there in my study that night, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. I felt like I had real power over someone who had hurt me deeply. For months, Tyler had been treating me like a confused old man who needed guidance from younger people. Now he was about to learn that his entire lifestyle depended on the generosity of someone he considered incompetent. The grandson who thought I was too old for business decisions was about to discover exactly who controlled his comfortable life. The next morning, I woke up with a clear plan about what I needed to do to Tyler. He thought he could publicly humiliate me by calling me too old for business decisions, while living off my secret financial support. Tyler had no idea that his entire comfortable lifestyle depended on the grandfather he had just dismissed as incompetent. It was time to show everyone who really controlled the family money. I spent the morning organizing my strategy for maximum impact on Tyler's understanding of consequences. This wasn't going to be some emotional outburst or angry phone call that he could dismiss as a bitter old man's reaction. This was going to be a calculated demonstration that would permanently change his attitude toward the person who funded his lifestyle. I decided to wait until Tyler's next major expense came due before revealing that his trust fund had been terminated. His luxury apartment rent of $4,500 was due on the 1st of November, just 2 weeks away. When Tyler discovered his bank account couldn't cover his basic living expenses, he would finally understand who had been supporting him all along. But I also wanted to make sure our entire family understood exactly why Tyler's financial support had ended. This wasn't about being petty or vindictive toward a young person making mistakes. This was about teaching important lessons about respect, gratitude, and the real source of the money Tyler spent so casually every month. My plan was to call a family meeting on November 1st, right when Tyler would be discovering his financial crisis. "I need everyone to come to the house for an important discussion about family finances," I would tell them. Tyler's cousins, his Uncle Jim, and my brother Tom would all be there to witness his education about consequences. I also planned to invite my business partner Frank and my attorney, David, to this family meeting. They had both heard Tyler's disrespectful speech at my birthday party and understood why his behavior needed to be addressed. "Frank, I want you to see what happens when someone takes family generosity for granted," I would tell him. The timing of this revelation would be perfect because Tyler would be facing immediate practical problems that couldn't be ignored or postponed. Rent payments, car payments, and credit card bills don't wait for apologies or explanations. Tyler would be forced to confront the reality of his actual earning capacity versus his expensive lifestyle. I calculated the complete disruption this would cause to Tyler's comfortable routine and social image. His luxury apartment would be in jeopardy if he couldn't make the rent payment. His expensive car would face repossession if he couldn't cover the monthly payment. His credit cards would be maxed out within weeks without the trust fund income. But more importantly, Tyler's friends and social circle would discover that his wealthy lifestyle was fake. "Tyler, how are you affording this restaurant?" they would start asking. "Didn't you say your freelance work was slow this month?" The social embarrassment would match the financial crisis he had created through his disrespectful behavior. I also wanted to document everything that happened during Tyler's financial awakening for potential legal purposes. If Tyler tried to challenge my decision or claim I was mentally incompetent, I needed proof that his own behavior had justified terminating his trust fund. His birthday speech had been witnessed by 60 people who could testify about his disrespectful attitude. The most satisfying part of my plan was knowing that Tyler's desire for independence would be granted completely. He had suggested that I was too old to be involved in family decisions, so he would get exactly what he asked for. No family financial support, no family safety net, and no family assistance with the chaos he had created. I spent the afternoon reviewing all my legal documents to make sure Tyler couldn't successfully challenge my right to terminate his trust fund. The original trust agreement clearly stated that monthly payments depended on showing respect for family relationships and making progress toward independence. Tyler had violated both conditions through his entitled behavior and public disrespect. I also prepared talking points for when I inevitably had to explain my decision to family members and friends. Tyler made it clear at my birthday party that he considers me too old to make competent decisions, I would say calmly. I'm simply honoring his assessment by removing myself from his financial support system. The logic would be unassailable and completely based on his own words. That evening, I called my attorney David to discuss the legal implications of terminating Tyler's trust fund based on his disrespectful behavior. "David, Tyler publicly questioned my mental competence at my birthday party," I explained. Can I legally end his financial support based on his violation of the trust conditions? David confirmed that Tyler's behavior clearly justified my decision. Robert, the trust agreement requires respect for family relationships, David reminded me. Tyler's public humiliation of his grandfather obviously violates that condition. This legal advice gave me confidence that my decision was both justified and legally sound. I also discussed the potential for Tyler to pursue legal action against me for cutting off his financial support. He might try to claim you're incompetent or that he depended on the trust fund income, David warned me. But if you can show that his own behavior caused the termination, you'll have strong justification for your decision. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched Tyler continue his expensive lifestyle while having no idea that his financial support had already been eliminated. He was posting social media photos from expensive restaurants and shopping trips, all funded by money that would never come again. Soon, he would learn exactly who controlled those payments. The grandson who thought I was too old for family decisions was about to discover the cost of disrespecting the person who made his comfortable lifestyle possible. 2 weeks after I terminated Tyler's trust fund, my phone started ringing frantically on November 1st. It was Tyler calling me in complete panic about his bank account. "Grandpa, something's wrong with my bank account," he said desperately. "My automatic rent payment bounced, and I don't understand what happened." I could hear the fear and confusion in his voice as he realized his financial world was falling apart. "Tyler, that sounds like a serious problem," I replied calmly, like I had nothing to do with his banking issues. "Have you checked with your bank to see what caused the payment to fail?" I wanted to hear exactly how Tyler would try to solve his crisis before revealing my role in his financial disaster. "Grandpa, the bank said there wasn't enough money in my account to cover the rent," Tyler said in disbelief. "But that's impossible because I always have enough money for my expenses." He was struggling to understand how his comfortable lifestyle had suddenly become unaffordable overnight. I stayed completely calm while listening to Tyler's panic about his bounced rent payment. "Tyler, maybe you should review your recent spending and income to figure out where the money went," I suggested matter-of-factly. "Sometimes people spend more than they realize and run into cash flow problems." I was enjoying watching him slowly discover that his wealthy lifestyle was built on someone else's generosity. "Grandpa, I need help covering my rent payment today," Tyler begged desperately. "My landlord is threatening to start eviction proceedings if I don't pay the $4,500 immediately." His request for emergency assistance was ironic since he had just called me too old to make competent decisions 2 weeks earlier. "Tyler, didn't you say at my birthday party that I was too old for financial decisions?" I reminded him calmly. "Maybe you should ask someone younger and smarter to help with your money problems." I wanted him to start connecting his disrespectful speech with his current financial crisis. That's when Tyler began realizing there might be a connection between his rent problems and his grandfather's feelings about the birthday party. "Grandpa, are you somehow involved in what happened to my bank account?" he asked nervously. "Because this timing seems really suspicious just 2 weeks after your party." "Tyler, what are you suggesting?" I asked innocently. "Are you implying that your too old grandfather could have caused your banking problems?" I wanted him to directly ask about my involvement before confirming his worst fears about who controlled his monthly income. "Grandpa, please tell me you didn't do something to my money," Tyler whispered desperately. "I can't afford my apartment or my car payments without my regular income." The panic in his voice told me he was starting to understand that his comfortable lifestyle had always depended on someone else's financial support. "Tyler, what regular income are you talking about?" I asked directly. I thought you told everyone that young people understand money better than older people. I wanted him to admit that he had no idea where his monthly spending money actually came from before revealing the truth about his trust fund. That's when Tyler broke down completely as he realized the scope of his financial disaster. "Grandpa, I get money in my bank account every month, but I don't know exactly where it comes from," he confessed desperately. "I always assumed it was from Grandma's inheritance or my freelance work, but maybe I was wrong about everything." "Tyler, that monthly money comes from a trust fund I established for you 10 years ago," I revealed calmly. $25,000 transferred to your account every month since you turned 18. The silence on the phone was deafening as Tyler processed this shocking information about his secret financial support. "Grandpa, you've been giving me $25,000 every month," Tyler asked in complete disbelief. "That's $300,000 every year?" I could hear him calculating the total amount of money I had provided while he was telling people I was too old for business decisions. "That's exactly right, Tyler," I confirmed. "And I terminated that trust fund the night you called me too old for financial decisions at my birthday party." I wanted him to understand the direct connection between his disrespectful behavior and his current financial emergency. Within an hour of our phone conversation, my house was filled with panicked family members who had heard about Tyler's crisis. My brother Tom arrived first, followed by Tyler's Uncle Jim and his cousins, who were all trying to understand what had happened to Tyler's money. "Robert, Tyler called everyone saying his bank account is empty," Tom said urgently. "Tyler also said you terminated some kind of trust fund that none of us knew existed," added Jim with concern. "Is that true? And why didn't anyone in the family know about this financial arrangement?" The family was discovering that I had been secretly supporting Tyler's lifestyle for an entire decade. Tyler arrived at my house 20 minutes later, still wearing his expensive clothes but looking completely defeated and scared. "Grandpa, please don't do this to me," he begged in front of all our family members. "I can't survive without the trust fund money, and I'm sorry about what I said at your party." His public apology was too little, too late to save his comfortable lifestyle. "Tyler, you made it very clear that I'm too old to make competent decisions," I replied firmly in front of everyone. "I'm simply honoring your assessment by removing myself from your financial support system." The family could see the perfect logic in my decision to stop funding someone who had publicly disrespected me. My brother Tom was the first to understand and support my decision to terminate Tyler's trust fund. "Tyler, you can't insult Robert and then expect him to keep paying your bills," he said directly. "Actions have consequences, especially when you disrespect the person who's been supporting you secretly for years." The grandson who thought I was too old for family decisions was learning exactly who had been controlling his comfortable life all along. After Tyler discovered his trust fund had been terminated, I realized I needed solid evidence to support my decision. If Tyler was going to challenge my right to cut off his financial support, I wanted bulletproof documentation of his years of disrespectful behavior toward me. I spent the next day gathering 3 years of records that told the complete story of Tyler's entitled attitude and gradual loss of respect for his grandfather. I started by organizing every text message conversation Tyler and I had shared since Dorothy died 3 years ago. The pattern was clear when I looked at the timing of his messages compared to his growing disrespect for my age and abilities. Before Dorothy's funeral, Tyler's messages were personal and caring. After inheriting money from her estate, his communication became focused entirely on his financial needs. The text message records were particularly revealing about Tyler's changing attitude toward family financial support. 3 years ago, Tyler would write detailed messages explaining his situations and showing genuine appreciation. "Grandpa, I'm so grateful for your help with the car repair bill. I promise to pay you back when I can." Those were the days when Tyler still respected the source of his assistance. But after Dorothy died and Tyler got more comfortable with regular financial help, his messages became shorter and more demanding. "Need $2,000 for security deposit" became a typical text without explanation or gratitude. "Can you transfer money today?" replaced polite requests that acknowledged my generosity as a gift rather than an obligation. I found email exchanges where Tyler had started questioning my business decisions and suggesting I was getting too old to run Mitchell Construction effectively. "Grandpa, maybe you should consider bringing in younger management to help modernize the company," he had written last year. Construction methods are changing fast, and older approaches might be holding you back. His condescending tone was insulting to someone who had built a successful business from nothing. These emails showed Tyler's growing assumption that his inheritance of Dorothy's money made him qualified to advise someone with 50 years of business experience. "Grandpa, I've been reading about real estate investment strategies that could help you diversify your portfolio," he wrote 6 months ago. "Young investors are using technology and market analysis that older generations might not understand." His arrogance was incredible, considering he had never earned a steady paycheck in his adult life. I also documented Tyler's pattern of making expensive lifestyle choices and then expecting me to fund them after the fact. Last year, he signed a lease for his luxury apartment without discussing the cost with anyone in the family. "Grandpa, I found this amazing place, but the rent is higher than I expected," he told me after already committing to the lease. "Can you help me cover the difference each month?" This became his standard operating procedure for major financial decisions. The car purchase records were equally revealing about Tyler's entitled mindset regarding family money. He bought a $50,000 BMW without consulting me about whether he could afford the payments. "Grandpa, I needed reliable transportation for my freelance work," he explained when the first payment came due. "This car is really an investment in my career prospects." But Tyler's freelance work brought in maybe $8,000 per year, nowhere near enough to justify such an expensive vehicle. I found social media posts where Tyler portrayed himself as successful and independent while living entirely off my secret financial support. "Living my best life and grateful for all my opportunities," he had posted while spending $32,000 per month of my money. His public image was built on hiding the source of his comfortable lifestyle. But the most damaging evidence was Tyler's pattern of dismissive comments about my age and mental capabilities during family gatherings. "Grandpa's getting a little forgetful lately," he had told his cousins last Christmas. "Maybe we should start helping him with important decisions." These comments were designed to undermine my authority and credibility with other family members. I documented specific instances where Tyler had questioned my judgment in front of other people at family events. During Easter dinner, he had suggested that I should sell one of my construction projects because older people sometimes hold on to investments too long. At Dorothy's memorial service, he mentioned that I might need guidance managing all this responsibility at my age. Each comment was a small attack on my competence and independence. The medical appointment records were particularly telling about Tyler's attempts to portray me as declining mentally. He had suggested multiple times that I should have cognitive assessments to make sure I was still capable of managing my business affairs. "Grandpa, lots of people your age benefit from professional evaluations," he had said. "There's no shame in getting help with complex decisions." But I was sharper than most men half my age, and my doctor had confirmed my perfect mental health. I also found evidence of Tyler's manipulation tactics when he wanted something expensive. He would start conversations by expressing concern about my health or well-being, then transition into requests for financial assistance. "Grandpa, you seem tired lately. Maybe you should take a vacation," would lead to, "I found this great travel package, but I need help with the cost." His fake concern was just set up for asking for money. The trust fund payment records showed Tyler's complete lack of curiosity about where his monthly income originated. $3 million transferred over 10 years, and he never once asked questions about the source of this money. Tyler was content to spend $25,000 monthly without understanding or acknowledging that someone was providing this incredible generosity. Most importantly, I documented Tyler's failure to show any genuine interest in my emotional well-being since Dorothy died. Every conversation focused on what I could do for him, never about how I was coping with loneliness or grief. "How are you doing since Grandma died?" was never a question Tyler asked, unless he needed money for something. Tomorrow, I would use all this evidence to justify my decision when Tyler inevitably confronted me about his terminated trust fund. 3 days after Tyler's financial crisis began, I called a family meeting at my house to reveal the complete truth about his secret trust fund. Everyone needed to understand exactly how much money I had been giving Tyler and why his disrespectful behavior had ended that support forever. Tyler arrived looking desperate and scared, while the rest of our family came expecting answers about his sudden financial emergency. I had prepared detailed financial statements showing every payment I had made to Tyler over the past 10 years. $25,000 per month for 120 consecutive months. The numbers were going to shock everyone who thought Tyler was living off his grandmother's inheritance and part-time work income. "Thank you all for coming today," I began as 12 family members gathered in my living room. "We need to discuss Tyler's financial situation and some decisions I've made about family support." Tyler was sitting quietly, probably hoping I wouldn't reveal the full scope of his dependence on my generosity. My brother Tom spoke first about the family's confusion regarding Tyler's crisis. "Robert, Tyler called everyone saying his bank account is empty and he can't pay his bills," Tom said. "But we all thought he was doing well financially with his freelance work and Dorothy's inheritance. The family had no idea that Tyler's comfortable lifestyle was built entirely on my secret payments." "That's exactly what I want to address today," I replied, pulling out the trust fund documentation. Tyler's lifestyle for the past 10 years has been funded by monthly payments from a trust fund I established when he turned 18. The room became completely silent as everyone processed this information about Tyler's hidden financial support. "Robert, how much money are we talking about?" asked Tyler's Uncle Jim with concern in his voice. He could see from Tyler's expensive clothes and lifestyle that significant amounts had to be involved. Because Tyler lives in a luxury apartment and drives a BMW that costs more than most people make in a year. $25,000 per month, I announced clearly. $300,000 per year for the past 10 years. The gasps from family members were audible as they realized the massive scope of financial support Tyler had been receiving without anyone knowing about it. Tyler's cousin Sarah was the first to speak after the shocking revelation. "Tyler, you've been getting $25,000 every month?" she asked in disbelief. "That's more money than my husband and I make together working full-time jobs." The family was beginning to understand why Tyler never seemed worried about employment or career planning. "Why didn't anyone know about this trust fund?" asked my nephew David. "Tyler acts like he's independent and successful, but he's actually living off Grandpa's money. The contradiction between Tyler's public image and his financial reality was becoming clear to everyone in the room. I explained the original purpose and conditions of Tyler's trust fund to help the family understand my decision. I established this support to help Tyler focus on his education and career development without financial pressure, I said. The monthly payments were supposed to continue only as long as Tyler showed respect for family relationships and made progress toward independence. But Tyler violated both conditions through years of entitled behavior and public disrespect, I continued firmly. The trust fund was terminated the night Tyler called me too old for business decisions at my birthday party. The family could see the direct connection between Tyler's inappropriate speech and the loss of his financial support. Tyler tried desperately to defend his behavior and convince the family to pressure me into restoring his trust fund. Everyone, I made a mistake at Grandpa's party, but I didn't mean to be disrespectful, he said pleadingly. I was just suggesting that he deserves to enjoy retirement instead of working so hard. His explanation sounded weak and unconvincing to family members who had heard his actual speech. Tyler, you didn't suggest retirement, corrected my brother Tom, who had attended the birthday party. You publicly announced that Robert was too old to make competent decisions and needed to be managed by younger people. Tom's accurate summary made Tyler's attempt to minimize his disrespect look foolish and dishonest. I then revealed the complete financial picture to show the family exactly what Tyler's entitlement had cost over the years. Trust fund payments, $3 million. College expenses, $96,000. Private school, $72,000. Additional emergency funding, $50,000. Total investment in Tyler's comfort and opportunities, $3.2 million. The family members were stunned into silence as they processed the magnitude of money I had spent supporting Tyler's lifestyle. Robert, you've given Tyler over $3 million? Asked Jim incredulously. And he had the nerve to call you too old to make financial decisions. The irony was obvious to everyone in the room. Tyler's cousin Mark was particularly upset by the revelation of Tyler's secret wealth. Tyler, you complained about student loans while getting $25,000 every month? He said angrily. You acted like you understood financial struggles while living like a millionaire on Grandpa's money. The family was seeing Tyler's deception and entitlement clearly for the first time. Tyler never showed genuine appreciation or curiosity about where his monthly income originated, I explained to the family. $3 million over 10 years, and he never once asked questions or expressed gratitude for this incredible generosity. My statement highlighted Tyler's complete lack of character and family values. The most damning evidence came when I shared Tyler's recent text messages that showed his demanding attitude toward family assistance. Need money for vacation and transfer $5K today were typical examples of how Tyler communicated with someone who was secretly funding his entire lifestyle. The family could see his disrespectful tone and entitled expectations. The grandson who had called me too old for decisions was learning that his entire family now understood exactly who controlled his comfortable life. After revealing to the entire family that Tyler had received over $3 million in secret support, the room erupted with shocked conversations about his entitled behavior. Tyler sat there looking completely defeated as everyone understood the scope of his deception and disrespect toward the person who had funded his luxury lifestyle. He realized that his comfortable life was over unless he could somehow convince me to restore his trust fund. Grandpa, please give me another chance, Tyler begged desperately in front of all our family members. I realize now that I was completely wrong about everything, and I'm truly sorry for what I said at your birthday party. His public apology was motivated by financial panic rather than genuine remorse for hurting someone who had raised him and supported him for years. But the family wasn't buying Tyler's sudden change in attitude after learning about his secret wealth. "Tyler, you're only sorry because your money got cut off," said his cousin Sarah bluntly. "Where was this appreciation when you were getting $25,000 every month?" Her comment highlighted the obvious connection between Tyler's crisis and his newfound respect. Tyler tried to explain his behavior and convince everyone that he deserved another opportunity to prove himself. "I know I took Grandpa's help for granted, but I never realized how much he was doing for me," he said through tears. "If I had known about the trust fund, I would have been more grateful and respectful." But his explanation only made his situation worse by admitting he would have treated me better if he knew I controlled his money. "Tyler, that's exactly the problem," interrupted my brother Tom. "Your respect for Robert shouldn't depend on whether he's giving you money." Tom understood that Tyler's conditional appreciation revealed his true character and priorities regarding family relationships. I listened to Tyler's desperate attempts to save his financial support while staying completely calm and in control of the situation. "Tyler, you're asking me to restore a trust fund that you didn't even know existed," I pointed out. "How can you be grateful for something you never acknowledged or appreciated?" His logic was completely backward and selfish. Tyler then tried a different approach by promising to change his behavior and attitude if I would give him one more chance. "Grandpa, I'll get a real job and start paying you back for everything," he said frantically. "I'll show you the respect you deserve and prove that I've learned from this mistake." But his promises felt empty after years of entitled behavior and 3 years of calling me too old for important decisions. "Tyler, actions speak louder than promises," I replied firmly. "You've had 28 years to show respect and gratitude, but you chose entitlement and disrespect instead." The family could see that Tyler's current crisis was the natural consequence of his poor choices and bad character. My nephew David asked the question that everyone was thinking about Tyler's future without the trust fund. "Tyler, how are you planning to pay your bills without the monthly payments?" he said directly. "Your rent alone is more than most people's entire salary." David was highlighting the reality that Tyler had never learned to live within his actual means. Tyler broke down completely as he faced the practical implications of losing his secret financial support. "I don't know how I'm going to survive without the trust fund money," he sobbed. "My rent, my car payment, my credit cards, everything depends on that monthly income that I didn't even know was from Grandpa." His confession revealed the complete scope of his dependence on my generosity. "Tyler, maybe you should have thought about that before calling Robert too old to make competent decisions," said Tyler's Uncle Jim with no sympathy. "You can't bite the hand that feeds you and then expect it to keep feeding you." Jim's comment perfectly captured the family's attitude toward Tyler's self-created crisis. After 30 minutes of watching Tyler beg for forgiveness and financial restoration, I made my final decision about our relationship going forward. "Tyler, here are my conditions if you want any relationship with me in the future," I announced clearly. "First, you will publicly apologize to everyone who attended my birthday party for questioning my mental competence and business abilities. Second, you will get a full-time job within 60 days and start supporting yourself without any family financial assistance," I continued. "Third, you will attend counseling to address your entitled attitude and learn about healthy family relationships." Tyler was nodding desperately, willing to agree to anything that might restore his comfortable lifestyle. Most importantly, if you ever show disrespect toward me or any family member again, our relationship ends permanently, I concluded firmly. I will not tolerate being taken for granted or dismissed by people who should value family loyalty above everything else. The family could see that I was being more than fair while setting necessary boundaries. Tyler accepted all my conditions immediately because he had no choice if he wanted any hope of future support. "Grandpa, I promise to do everything you've asked," he said through his tears. "I'll prove to you that I can change and become the grandson you deserve." But his promises felt hollow after years of entitled behavior. However, I had one more announcement that shocked Tyler and the entire family. "Tyler, the trust fund is permanently terminated regardless of whether you meet these conditions," I said calmly. "You will never again receive monthly payments from me or anyone else in this family." His face went completely white as he realized his comfortable lifestyle was gone forever. "Tyler, you're 28 years old, and it's time to learn what independence really means," I explained. "You wanted to be free from an old man's involvement in your decisions, so now you have exactly what you asked for." The family could see the perfect justice in my decision to grant Tyler the independence he had demanded so disrespectfully. The grandson who thought I was too old for family decisions was learning the true cost of disrespecting the person who had made his entire adult life possible. 8 months have passed since I terminated Tyler's trust fund, and I'm here today to tell you exactly how my life changed after setting clear boundaries with a family member who had taken my generosity for granted. The public humiliation Tyler faced when his secret financial support ended taught him lessons about respect and consequences that his comfortable lifestyle had never required him to learn. Tyler followed through on every condition I had set for rebuilding our relationship. He sent written apologies to all 60 guests who attended my birthday party and heard his disrespectful speech. "I was wrong to question my grandfather's mental abilities and business judgment," he wrote to everyone. "Robert Mitchell deserves respect for the successful life he built and the family he raised after tragedy struck us." His public acknowledgement of wrongdoing was exactly what I had required for any chance of forgiveness. He also found full-time employment within 30 days of our family meeting, something he had avoided for years while living off my monthly payments. Tyler took a job at a marketing firm making $42,000 annually. "Grandpa, I'm learning what it means to earn my own money," he told me during one of our supervised conversations. "I never realized how good it feels to pay your own bills with money you actually worked for." But the most important change was in Tyler's attitude toward me and our family relationships. No more suggestions about my mental decline or business competence. No more assumptions about my obligations to fund his lifestyle choices. "Grandpa, I'm sorry it took losing everything to understand how much you sacrificed for me," he said genuinely during a family dinner 6 months later. Tyler's financial adjustment to reality was difficult, but necessary for his character development. He moved from his luxury apartment to a modest one-bedroom place that cost $800 monthly instead of $4,500. His BMW was repossessed, and he bought a reliable used Honda with cash he had saved from his new job. The lifestyle changes were dramatic, but taught him to live within his actual means. His social circle discovered that his wealthy image had been fake, which led to some embarrassing conversations, but ultimately better friendships. "Tyler, we like you better now that you're not always flashing money around," one of his friends told him. "You seem more genuine when you're not trying to impress everyone with expensive stuff." The people who mattered appreciated Tyler's authenticity over his artificial wealth. Most importantly, Tyler started showing genuine interest in my well-being rather than just my wallet. "Grandpa, "How are you handling the loneliness since Grandma died?" became a regular question in our conversations. "Is there anything I can do to help make your life easier?" These were the kinds of caring questions that had been missing from our relationship for years, while he focused only on his financial needs. My construction business continued thriving without the stress of managing difficult family relationships. Mitchell Construction completed several major projects this year, including a luxury hotel downtown that will employ 300 people. Every success reminded me of the satisfaction that comes from building something meaningful rather than just funding someone else's entitled lifestyle. I also started dating again for the first time since Dorothy died, something I hadn't felt emotionally ready for while dealing with Tyler's manipulation and disrespect. "Robert, you seem more confident and peaceful lately," my friend Carol observed during our first dinner date. "Setting boundaries with Tyler was good for your emotional health." She was right, that protecting myself from disrespect had improved my overall well-being and openness to new relationships. The most satisfying part of this outcome was seeing how my decision had educated other family members about treating each other with proper respect. "Uncle Robert did exactly the right thing," my nephew told Tyler. "You can't take family for granted and expect them to keep supporting you financially." The lesson extended beyond just Tyler to influence our entire family's understanding of healthy boundaries. Tyler eventually met a nice young woman named Jennifer, who appreciated his genuine personality rather than his fake wealth. "I'm glad I met Tyler after he learned to be independent," Jennifer told me. "I can see that he values family relationships and understands the importance of earning what he has." Their relationship was built on honesty and mutual respect rather than financial deception. Looking back on this entire experience, I learned crucial lessons about family relationships and personal boundaries that every person should understand. First, generosity without appreciation creates entitlement instead of gratitude in family members. By constantly helping Tyler without requiring basic respect, I had enabled his poor treatment of someone who deserved his loyalty and thankfulness. Second, actions really do have permanent consequences that apologies cannot undo after the damage is done. Tyler's decision to publicly question my mental competence revealed his true character and priorities. Once someone shows you who they really are through their choices, you should believe them and protect yourself accordingly. Most importantly, I learned that setting clear consequences for disrespectful behavior doesn't destroy family bonds. It reveals which relationships were genuine to begin with. Tyler only valued me when he needed my help or my property. Real family members don't tell you that you're too old to be included in important decisions or too incompetent to run your own business. Today, I have the respectful family relationship I always deserved, but was afraid to demand for myself. Tyler treats me like a valued grandfather instead of a source of financial assistance. Our conversations focus on genuine connection rather than his latest expensive problems that needed my immediate funding. At 75 years old, I finally have the dignity and peace that comes from standing up for yourself when people take advantage of your kindness. The grandson who thought I was too old for business decisions discovered exactly how sharp my financial judgment really was when he lost $100,000 annually for his disrespectful behavior. Setting boundaries with Tyler saved our relationship instead of destroying it. Today we have genuine respect and love rather than financial dependency disguised as family loyalty. Tyler learned that independence means supporting yourself, not dismissing the people who made your comfortable life possible. If you are still here and enjoyed this story, please like this video. It really helps me know you want more content like this. If this story gave you some value or made you think, please share it with your friends or someone who needs to hear this message. If you have any questions or suggestions about this story, please type them in the comments below. I love reading what you think. If you want more stories like this one, please subscribe to this channel. There are many more stories coming. Remember, respect is earned through actions, not given because of age or family titles.